Hi, it's Ingrid here. Today I want to show you a tutorial on using some resin. It's very much basics and experimental for me because I haven't used this resin before. I'm using the Dala clear cast epoxy, and today I'm working outside because you need to be in a very well ventilated area if you're working with resin, or alternatively you should be wearing your resin mask. Of course, if I wear my resin mask, I won't be able to speak to you. So I'm doing it outside. There will be a lot of background noise. I'm sorry, because I live up the road from a harbour, and it's a working harbour, so you'll be hearing a lot of harbour sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm using various tints and mica powders, and yeah, so what you need to start: rubber gloves, protect your hands, and if you have a measuring cup like this, you can use 2 of these measuring cups, and you make sure that your measurements are the same, because this works 1 part to 1 part in equal measurements of volume, not weight. So you're going to measure in these cups. If you don't have those cups, then you can just use 2 cups which are the same size, or you can take 2 little glasses and just measure off exactly the same height. Make sure though that when you're using a cup, it must have flat sides and a flat bottom, so things don't get stuck inside. Okay, so first what we do is we mix our, this is the resin. You may find that if you are in a colder area, you will want to warm up your resin a little bit. And when to warm up your resin, you'll take your bottle, put it in a plastic bag, and put it into some hot water just to warm it up. The reason you put it in a plastic bag is so that when you take it out the hot water, you don't drip resin into your mix, because it doesn't like water. Okay, so there I've got my cup of resin and my cup of hardener. Put that on one side, and I'm going to use a nice big cup to mix them into. So using a little sucker stick, just make sure you clean out all the resin and the hardener from your cup so that you can keep it as exact as possible. Put that to one side, and then I'm going to take the stick that I used for the hardener and put it with that, because as soon as you mix the hardener and the resin together, you're going to get a chemical reaction and it's going to start to set. So you don't want to contaminate the one with the other. This is the resin I'm putting in. Okay, and then you're going to mix. When you start to mix, you'll see there's a bit of threads, looks like inside here. Just keep mixing and it will go away. When you mix, to try and avoid bubbles, which is very difficult, but to try and avoid bubbles, you must mix it quite gently, stirring off the sides, and you mix it slowly and gently. You can see I already do have some bubbles, but those, unfortunately, the bubbles is your biggest enemy when it comes to resin, unfortunately. So you just do the best that you can. And you're going to just keep mixing, stirring off the sides. The mixing takes extremely long, but you've got to do it properly. It's not worth taking shortcuts with this. Then if you want to also to avoid bubbles, when you finish mixing it, you can set it on one side, and then the bubbles will rise to the surface. But then remember, the longer you wait, the less open time you have with your resin before it starts to set. So just, I am stirring a little bit wild now because for time, but you should really do it a little bit more gently. So you keep stirring until it becomes, I have so many bubbles in here, until it becomes a clear mix. I wish I knew how to forward this part. I see a lot of people online do forward the mixing and it suddenly goes really, really fast, but I don't have that app. And if somebody knows what app it is, I would love it if you tell me, because it will make everybody's life so much easier. Okay, I'm going to leave it like this. Hopefully it's stirred enough. Lots of bubbles. So what I want to do now is I managed to get my hands on some tint, some color tint. So I'm going to mix a few containers of different colors just to see how it goes. So I'm just going to pour in some of this resin into various cups, just so we can see what the colors look like when we mix the tints in and when we mix the mica powders as well. And then I think I want to actually keep one clean, just a clear resin, so we can look at how the bubbles look. So to start with, I'm going to use the resin tint. Now the resin tint is extremely strong, so you're just going to use literally one drop. Give it a stir. One little bottle of that resin will last a very long time, as I'm sure you can see. This makes a very nice green. Of course, also if you tint it, it hides all kinds of bubbles. So pop this into my mold. I've got just a normal silicone mold here, little hearts that I've got as a gift from a friend overseas. And there's green. Now what I do is once I've finished that, I leave the stick in the little bottle or the little cup, because when it dries you just lift up the stick and all the resin comes out with it, so you can reuse that. Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to keep this one clear just so we can see how beautifully it sets and how clear the actual resin is when it's set. I think that's a very important thing, because a lot of people like to float things in their resin so that it looks like glass. So we'll pop that in there. Now I will use some white, just one drop white, another tint. I like to use the popsicle sticks, because once the popsicle sticks are coated with resin, you can keep using them over and over and over and over. Sometimes the wood generates bubbles as well, so once it's coated with resin, you have less chance of getting bubbles in that. That looks like a very nice solid white. Pop that in there. And then as a comparison, I'm going to use my white mica powder. Just going to use a little bit of that. And that one gives you a bit of a pearlescent tinge to it, whereas the tint gives you a plain color, a solid color. I don't know if you can see the pearlescent in that. It's very beautiful. We'll put that next to that white one so we'll know. Okay, and I think for my, oh, that was it. Oh yeah, I've got this one. I kept this one plain. So pour that in here. I think for my last color I will do a nice metallic, also mica. And this is a copper. Beautiful. You see, you only need very little to get a really beautiful result. Give it a good stir. Oh, that is so lovely. Okay, so now, see, sorry about that. Now, in order to pop the bubbles, you've got a couple of options that you can use. You can either use a hot air heat gun, or you can use a blowtorch. I'm a little bit hesitant to use the torch. This is the torch. Because of the silicone, I get a bit nervous of using that. So let's try the heat gun. I'm just going to go on a slow one. Another tip as well that you can do is before you put your resin into your container, into your silicone, you can warm up the silicone with your heat gun first. That will also avoid bubbles. So now what we'll do is we'll just leave this overnight, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow when it starts to dry. Thank you for spending this time with me, and we'll do some more videos with resin very soon. Bye bye.